everyone, welcome to another episode of the Data Standard Audio Experience. My name is Catherine Tao and I will be your host today. Today on our show, we have Amit Arora, the Principal Data Scientist and Advisory Engineer at Hughes Network Systems. And today we're going to be speaking about the shift to the cloud. So welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you today.
Thank you, Catherine. It's great to be here with you virtually, and I look forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive deeper into just learning more about your work and kind of the shift to the data cloud. And so can you tell us more about just what was your data science journey like and share more about your experiences with our audience?
Absolutely. So my journey into data science, like a lot of people, did not actually start in data science. It started in software engineering and computer science because way back in the early 2000s when I started my career, data science as a field did not exist, at least not in the formal structured format as we know now. So for 18 years out of the more than 2 decades of working experience that I've had, I've been working in telecommunications software. Now, analyzing network data, looking at packet traces from the gateways and the modems was just a daily part of my work, along with writing software. So I was always very interested in data. But and then I also was interested in academia and wanted to study further, but I was very clear that I didn't want to do a conventional computer science master's or a software engineering master's. So around 2015, this term data science was just coming about in the lexicon, and it was very much up in the hype cycle. So I did a 6-month diploma from Georgetown School of Continuing Studies and in data science, and I liked that very much. Now, around the same time, Georgetown was starting a master's program in data science. So I, 16 years after I completed my engineering, I found myself writing, applications and SOPs and getting recommendations and applied for that program, and I got selected. So from 2016 to 2018, I was in Georgetown, attending classes twice a week, 2 courses per semester, all while working full-time. So this was, like, I should point out to your viewers and listeners, this was done the old-fashioned way by attending classes in person, not virtually. So it was very interesting, and it was a very good experience. Now, when I completed that in 2018, I decided to make the shift full-time from software engineering to data science. So then I helped seed and grow a data science team at Hughes, and I'm especially proud of that team that does some very important work analyzing network data, business data, and all sorts of data that exist in a telecommunication software company. And our team now is at the forefront of data science, cloud adoption, DevOps, and all the other cool technologies. So that is in short my journey towards data science.
Yeah, no, that sounds super exciting with all the stuff that you're kind of working on right now. And today our big topic is just kind of the shift to the cloud and how companies have really changed to be more data driven as the years kind of go by. And so I wanted to talk to you, how has the shift to the cloud evolved throughout the past years, depending on the different sizes of different companies?
Sure. So that's a very interesting question on a topic that is extremely close to my heart. So when I was actually transitioning to data science full time, the cloud adoption was also starting to happen here at Hughes. And so I had the good fortune of both participating in that journey and shepherding that journey here. Now, cloud and data science is sort of a match made in heaven, to use a cliche term. Now, data science obviously loves data, massive amounts of data. And then we also need lots of scalable compute to train all the machine learning models and all the insights and the dashboard reports, APIs, etc. All of that hosting requires compute platform. So data and scalable compute is what is required. And now that is basically synonymous with the cloud. So both the data science journey, my data science journey, as well as the cloud adoption journey here kind of started in lockstep. So I had the good fortune of observing that from close quarters, working with multiple cloud providers, as well as listening to industry experts. So my view of the cloud adoption journey in an enterprise is, I view that from 2 lenses. One is the people and technology lens, and the other is where are you is an enterprise lifecycle lens. Like, where are you as a company in your lifecycle? And I'll talk about. So the enterprise, the technology and people lens is straightforward to understand. So you would have a situation where the CIO and the CTO would stack hand and say, well, it is time we need to transition to the cloud, or maybe it is past time. We should have done this last year, 2 years ago, right? So then they provide marching orders to the team to say, well, we have this clear objective, we need to do this. And the team then goes and figures out the best tech stack that is required to make that happen within their specific context, ecosystem, and what have you. And that becomes a really clear agenda from there. Now, I know it is not as cut and dry as I make it sound to be, but that is generally what is a recipe for a successful transition. Now, I have also seen where a C-level executive will go one step further and say, we are going to do this, and I put a line in the sand, 18 to 24 months or 2 years in the future, we are going to have lights out in our data center. We have to make this happen. It doesn't happen very often, but once that happens, that provides a real sense of purpose to the team that, we have to make this happen. So that is the people and technology. The other lens is that where are you as a company in your life cycle? So now, if you are a startup, if you will, 5 years or maybe 10 years, then you are most likely born in the cloud already. So you don't have really a problem. Like, you never had the proverbial server in the garage type of situation, right? It was always in the cloud or always in some sort of hosted infrastructure. So a transition to a cloud or multiple public clouds is a very natural course of things. So no problem there. If you are an enterprise who is maybe more than a decade, maybe multiple decades old, and has a few thousand employees, then that is where things get complicated or interesting. So you typically have terabytes or petabytes of data in your data center, hundreds of applications, and now how do you do that, right? There are multiple stakeholders: business, sales, marketing, engineering team. Now that's the whole thing. Right. So in those situations, my understanding of one of the approaches is to have a hybrid approach. We do two things. We set up a clear mandate from the C-level executives that starting from today, now, we would not be building any new applications that would be hosted in our data center. These applications would be born in the cloud. So, it's a greenfield scenario, and things are good. And, slowly but surely a critical mass of application develops over a period of time. Now, I would want to assume that as an enterprise, most of your life is in front of you. So even though we may say that there's a lot of technical debt in terms of applications that are already there and what would we do, but slowly and surely, you would certainly start seeing critical mass of applications that are now just born in the cloud. And then at the same time, you would say, I would pick up a few mission critical applications. And I am very careful about this to say not the ones which are low impact, low risk, not the ones which provide you a soft landing, but some mission critical applications, and say these are currently hosted in our data center. We want to transition them to the cloud because we will learn a great deal. Even if we fail, we will learn a great deal. And the key here is to, again, a cliche, fail fast, so that we can learn very quickly how to transition these mission critical applications. And once we succeed, we would sort of convince ourselves we can do this. We would have the skeptics on board, and I, don't mean to demean anything. It's having skeptics who doubt, are very good. Having a worthy competitor to say, well, we shouldn't do this and we should do that. That's all very helpful. So, once you transition certain mission critical applications and decide that, well, from here on in, all the new applications will be born in the cloud, that then gives you a 2-year type of runway to say, okay, we'll be able to make this year. Now, the third scenario is that, hey, you're like a 50-year-old, 100-year-old behemoth with like more than 100,000 employees. Now what do you do? Right? So there, the idea is the same. You have to have this hybrid approach and say, well, I have a 3 to 5 year window. But the other thing that you employ over there is to say, we have a lot of technical debt in terms of applications or data that runs in the data center. We are going to lift and shift these applications to the cloud. Now, that may not be the most elegant solution, but it provides you a runway, and it provides you operational efficiencies, or maybe operational and or cost efficiencies, to say, okay, we decide to do this. The technical debt of these applications while they run in our data center is so much more. We will transition them to the cloud. and that technical debt is reduced, and the operational efficiencies that we gain out of it are worth it. And we have a 3 to 5 year time frame in which we can make this journey. Now, again, in those scenarios, it generally helps if you have a CIO and CTO who stack hands and say, well, we'll make this journey in 3 years. And I've seen that happen in multiple very large enterprises, and that usually works out okay. That is sort of my long-winded answer to your rather maybe innocuous question.
Yeah, no, I think you brought a lot of great insights there, and a lot of good points, absolutely. And just going off of that, how do you think that this shift to the cloud will be changing in the next coming years? Because technology is just constantly advancing, and there's a lot of different parts that are changing. And so what is your perspective for that?
Right. So that's a very interesting question again. So following up on my earlier answer, now there is a clear realization in the industry as well as among the cloud providers that multi-cloud and hybrid cloud is no longer an anathema. It is here to stay, right? I know of no large enterprises who say, well, we are just hosted in this one cloud. So multi-cloud, or we are not hosted at all in our data center, right? There is some data which, for security reasons, regulation reasons, or whatever, maybe somebody may have business reasons, would always stay in your data center. So the idea that the cloud providers can help you with this transition, with the idea that I understand you are not just hosted in my cloud, but hosted also in your data center, maybe hosted also in the remote edge or hosted in this other cloud. And I, as a cloud provider, would provide you a normalized experience across multiple clouds, right? So what I mean by that is that, if I talk about data, then my data governance policies, my security policies, and everything else, my business rules apply to my data transparently, whether that exists in a petabyte style data warehouse in the cloud or somewhere in my data center. I have a consistent experience. When I talk about applications, then my applications should be able to access this same data regardless of where it is in a consistent format. Plus, my deployment pipelines, my DevOps, my CI/CD pipelines should be able to deploy these applications, whether to the public cloud, whether to my data center, or whether to a remote edge. There's a lot of talk of edge these days, edge being the third act of the internet and so on. So all that, the idea that I, as an enterprise, should have had a normalized experience across all cloud providers as well as edge and my data center, that is really catching up. I see the cloud providers, I see several startups working in this space. Now, we are not 100% there yet, but the good thing is that there's a very clear realization that this is required, both from the enterprises as well as the cloud providers. So I see that, as sort of the next act, if you will.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I know a lot of different people have different perspectives of how they see different parts of data science or the cloud changing that we've had on the podcast. So it's interesting to hear different unique perspectives on that. So thank you so much for sharing. And so Amit, what are your perspectives on what are some of the different parts and components that comprise data science?
Sure. So let's rewind to 2015 when the term data science was just coming into existence. So your listeners and viewers may have seen some version of that famous Venn diagram which said, well, what is data science? Data science is at the intersection of probability and statistics and mathematics and computer science, and that small piece is data science. Now, while that is okay, we know that is sort of true, but based on hindsight, there is a lot more to data science than just that. That is what we know now. So now even 3 to 4 years ago, I would say a data scientist would be some sort of a full stack engineer where, you need to know coding, of course, so that you could build some data pipelines, data wrangling, write machine learning models, etc. Obviously, you needed to know machine learning, statistics, and probability. You needed to know data visualization, and also a very important aspect would be data storytelling, because all the insights that you provided from the data or the output of the models, they needed to be explained, whether to the business or marketing, sales, or whoever the audience was. So that was all of that, was amalgamated into the role of a data scientist. Now, fast forward to today, all these fields are very well-defined separate fields in themselves. So any sort of a medium-sized organization would have a separate data engineering team whose job is to build and create and maintain these data pipelines. a separate machine learning team who would use this data provided by the data engineering team and build machine learning models. Then maybe a separate data visualization team who would produce reports. And then a new thing would be a DevRel or a DevOps team who would say, well, we will create all the infrastructure on which all these applications run, and we will provide the application lifecycle management so that all these teams who do their who write code for their specific part, don't have to worry about keeping the lights up in the cloud and serverless or howsoever you host your application. So these are now very well defined fields encompassing data science. Now I've also seen companies where there are separate QA teams just for machine learning, right? So QA for machine learning and is now also becoming a part of the larger umbrella of data science. Now another thing is that data science more and more is normalizing towards software engineering. Now, I want to be very careful with that. When I say that, having spent a better part of my life being software engineering, and I understand the nuances that are different between the two fields. Now, but what I would like to say is that there are a lot of learning based on decades of experience that we've had in software engineering, and there is no reason why data science as a field should not benefit from that. So that being said, good software engineering practices and all, that being said, it is very important to understand the nuanced difference between the two fields. So analysis or data analysis by its very nature is iterative. Repetition, you get new data, you analyze it, you get different results, right? Model fatigue is real. So retraining those models, redeploying those models, that is not just a optional nice to have feature, that is just what we build today, right? So these concepts of a continuous change or being, in flux all the time, the way they are embraced by data science as a field is, I won't say at odds with software engineering, but it is slightly different from there, right? So that is a very important nuance to realize. Now, the other two things is that I see in academia is that two new fields are coming up, which are fast becoming and should become very fast a part of the data science umbrella, is explainable AI and ethics in that. So, machine learning model provides an output. Now, you don't want to just blindly trust it. You don't want to treat it as a black box. You want to understand why it predicted certain things. So, especially if dealing with healthcare, explainable AI based on regulations is a very important part of it. Similarly, ethics in AI, these are all coming up, and in academia, these are separate fields, and I see in very near future that they would be full-fledged fields within industry as well, and you would soon find people in data science team doing these parts of the data science thing in themselves. And in some verticals such as healthcare and fintech, these are already a part of the whole data science team. So that is sort of a much expanded role of a data science team, as I would explain today.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you brought up the ethics in AI and ethics in data specifically, because I think a lot of different guests I've had on the show have really tried to emphasize the importance of it, since there's not a lot of emphasis in that, depending on, of course, the industry, but there usually isn't a lot in different companies in the ethics side. So I'm glad that you were able to bring that up in terms of this conversation, definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I know that on the side, you had also mentioned to me offline that you're on the side an author, and you've been writing a book that's going to have a publication coming out soon. So I just wanted to hear more about that, and if you could share with the audience more about the publication.
Absolutely, I would love to. So, 2020 was a rather doom and gloom of an year. I don't know if anyone who would look fondly on 2020 and say, well, that was a great year, but if at all there was any positive aspect coming out of it, out of this dark cloud, for at least for the more fortunate amongst us, was that it provided us some time. It provided us some, slowed down the pace of life a little bit, so as to reflect and say, well, here are things that we may have wanted to do. We couldn't give them time or energy, but maybe now we can. So for me, that was writing, and I said, well, I would like to write something. And what happened was that both me and my wife, we started on our fitness journey. And me being a data nerd, we started, I love collecting data. And so we started collecting our data, biometrics and all every day, daily, and I still do that. And I thought it would be fun to analyze all of this data, put data science to, put your money where your mouth is, put your data science where your data is, right? So we said, okay, well, we would like to analyze this data to understand this better, and maybe put all of this analysis and all the learnings into a short book. So I published a short book called Blueberries in My Salad, My Journey Towards Fitness and Strength, and it came out in last October, and it's available on Amazon and LeanPub, and it describes our journey with lots of data, charts, and pictures about our fitness and strength, and how we, I'll say this. In January 2020, I used to weigh 253 pounds. We are recording this in August of 2021. I'm at 185. So, how did we do that? The book tells that story. No crash diets or shortcuts, just good old-fashioned hard work and just everything from first principles. So I wrote this book as code. And the book has a GitHub repository, and it gets published via CI/CD pipeline, because that is what data scientists do when they become a writer. So everything is code, and the book is written in R and Markdown, and all the visualizations in the book have been made using ggplot and some other JavaScript plotting libraries, etc. And the book now has a companion website called blueberriesinmysalad.com, and you could go to that website right now and download the ebook for free. And if you like it, I would request your viewers and listeners, if they like it, please purchase a copy on Amazon and or LeanPub, and the links I'm sure would be provided in the comments. And please put a review on Amazon. Now, a new and improved book based on the feedback that I got from friends and other unknown people, also some of them, who provided, said, well, a new and improved version of the book is in order. So I'm working on that currently, and it comes out in late November. At least that's what I'm targeting, and it covers several new topics like rest and recuperation, fasting, and of course our journey since October 2020. I'm shooting for late November, and any kind souls out there who would like to read a pre-release copy and review it on Amazon, please send me a message on Instagram or Twitter, and I will be very happy to send a copy your way.
Yeah, no, that sounds super interesting. And it's great that you wrote a book on your health journey as well, and you were able to incorporate the data side to it as well. So that's super fun and interesting to hear. And I wanted to say thank you so much, Amit, for joining me today at the Data Standard. Where can everyone find you online to connect with you?
Sure. So you can follow me at on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is at Arora79. That is AARORA 79, where I post data science content, and I like making data visualizations for fun. So earlier this year, in April, I participated in a 30-day chart challenge where you have to make a chart, new data set every single day for 30 days, make a chart. So that all that content is on Twitter, plus other fitness related content which I'm writing for the book. Some of the data visualizations from there are also on Twitter, and then my Instagram, which is at I Live the Data. So that's more data centric, if you will. It is I Live the Data, and that is on Instagram, and that is for my fitness content. I'm pretty active there, and all the latest things about the book and the content from the book in terms of blog posts and other data visualizations and other analysis is there on Instagram. And then finally the website, every good book should have a website. So Blueberries in My Salad now has a website called blueberriesinmysalad.com. And so you can find it there. And finally, if you would like to get in touch for professional opportunities, I'm extremely interested in teaching, public speaking. So if anyone in academia or industry is interested in anything data related, specifically about ML or in the cloud or DevOps, and would like me to present a talk or a workshop, please connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to collaborate.
Yeah, perfect. And thank you so much for being on our show and To our audience, for more information on the data standard, you can find us at our website and as well as on our LinkedIn and YouTube channel. And thank you so much, Amit, for joining me today. It was so great to have this opportunity to speak with you and just learn more about your perspective on the cloud and a little bit more about your
Absolutely.
book as well. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.